What is up, everybody, and welcome back to episode number 3 of this My Team Career Mode. If you haven't seen the start of this series, make sure you go check out the first 2 episodes and then come on back here. We had a bit of a decent start in Bahrain until we made that mistake on the final lap, and then we also made another mistake in Saudi Arabia. So I guess over the course of the 2 races, it's been a little bit lackluster, a little bit poor, but we do know we have the pace to potentially compete for an outside shot of the points if we do get everything right. But here we are signing our first sponsor. We finally got to the Acclaim level 5, the team Acclaim level 5, and we can finally pick a sponsor to put on our car. And we are going to go with the Avanzar sponsor, where the goal is overtake 5 different drivers during a race. Now, from previous games, I know that this one is probably the easiest one, and it gives you good bonuses. So, because you're going to overtake a lot of cars in the pits, especially if you go for the overcut strategy. So a lot of the time you are going to hit the goal, regardless if you overtake them or not. And also we're going to be closer to the back of the grid because we are in a slower car. So we're going to overtake drivers throughout the race, and it seems like the smart one to go with. So we're going to go with that, and we're also going to put some sponsors on our car because it looks pretty dull, I'm not going to lie. I was looking at it, I was like, I didn't even put on the main sponsor, Seren, on the car. I think that's how you say it. Seren? Serene? I'll go with Seren. We're going to go with Seren. So yeah, we're putting on the sponsors on the car now, putting some on the rear wing, front wing, everywhere we need. Make it look a little bit better than it was before, so it's not just plain and dull. But we're going into the more important stuff in this My Team Career Mode, and that is the upgrades. Trying to get as much chassis upgrades as possible. We want to make the car as light as possible. Also try and get it good in a straight line, because we need a fast car, obviously, to get the overtakes done, but also I want a light car so it doesn't feel like we're blimmin' dragging around the tractor around the track around every corners. So we've got to try and balance it out a little bit. We do have to get the aero upgraded as well, but we're focusing a bit more on the chassis, specifically because we already have that spec 1. Is it spec 1? Yeah, I think it's spec 1 on the department. So that's why we're focusing a bit more on the chassis. But as we come in to race weekend, you can see the qualifying is dry, but the race is a full wet race. So this one could get spicy. We have jumped up a couple places in that battle with the midfield cars. I'll tell you what, we're pretty close to Alpine. We're in that battle where we can fight for points. And with it being a full wet weekend, it could get a little bit interesting as we go P2 for FP Practice 1. Tied or joint best time with Charles Leclerc in the wet. So there's something here. There is something here. We feel confident in the wet. And I'll tell you what, it is a lot easier to drive in the wet on this game than it was on the previous game. So I'm actually, for once, looking forward to it and excited at the prospect of a wet race. And we got the setup down, we got it all sorted, and we come into qualifying, and I've made a bit of a mistake. I have forgot to change my engines, and looking at it, there's probably 2 or 3 that needed to be changed. I will be able to change 2 just in time before we go out. The first one, the internal combustion engine, definitely need changing. That was at 74%, and I think we changed another one which was around 54 as well. So we are going to get away with that. A little bit of a mistake. I was telling myself all through practice, don't forget. But yeah, I forgot. And now our backs are against the wall as we only get 1 run in qualifying to try and make it out of Q1 and put ourselves in Q2. And bearing in mind, we've had 0 running in the dry. In the practice, it was all wet. It was full wet. We did a full wet practice. We focused on a full wet setup. So this is a full wet setup and in the dry, and it's a qualifying session in the dry, which we haven't even practiced. So it is a little bit difficult. I wanted a couple of runs just to try and get used to the track in the dry, and maybe can change some things. And as you can see on the sector times, we are down almost a 10th on Oscar Piastri. So we have to have a worldie of a final sector if we want to find ourselves out or getting out of Q1 and putting ourselves into Q2. So we're going to absolutely send it because back of the grid is the same as P20 for us, as we almost go over the lines there. So can we find something? Can we at least out-qualify our teammate and keep that record going as we turn the final corner and up to the line? You got to use pretty much just a straight line here. Can we get up to the line? I think it was a 19.9. I don't know if it's going to be enough. And we cross the line. It is only P19. So we miss out on Q2. I think for the first time this season. Yeah. So a very disappointing result for us down there. P19, our teammate P21. And, I mean, we're going to take penalties. You saw our engine penalties. I'm like, P19, we might as well take the engine penalties. Start P22. It's going to be a full wet race. Anything could happen. Red flags, safety cars. Maybe it turns a bit dry as well. So let's get into the race.
This circuit missed a few years off the F1 calendar, and we missed Albert Park. So welcome back, and it's great to be back in Melbourne. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix. We're a stone's throw from the enormous Port Phillip Bay for today's race at the 3.28-mile Albert Park circuit. It's a bumpy racing surface here, and the 14 corners could prove especially difficult in the wet conditions. So watch out for a safety car at some point during this Grand Prix. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Russell, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Ocon, Stroll, Bottas, Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Zhou, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Magnussen, Gasly, De Vries, Doohan, Sargent, Doohan. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Natalie Pinkham, good to have you with us here today. Your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, I'm looking forward to staying dry here in the commentary box. Thank goodness. The rain, though, does add an extra level of spice, doesn't it?
Our first wet race of the season. Let's see how we can perform. It's not going to be fully wet. It is going to be intermediate weather. I mean, we have a look here, and yeah, it's just going to stay intermediate. So we are going to stay on that tyre. We're going to look to take it a little bit cautious. I mean, if the opportunity is there, we're absolutely going to send it. We've got nothing to lose. We're starting from the back of the grid. But we obviously do want to finish a race. I think we want to try and get to the end of the race without making any mistakes and put in our best possible performance. I think that's the goal, especially after Bahrain, especially after Saudi Arabia as well. We've made mistakes in both those races, which has cost us dearly. So it'll be nice to get to the end of the Grand Prix, even if it's not points, even if it's a P14, a P15, as long as we can get to the end of the Grand Prix with no mistakes and put in our best performance, that would be ideal. I mean, we're having a look at the starting tyres here, and not really anything interesting, you know, everybody on the intermediates. That's the thing about the wet races. Everybody's going to be on the same strategy. So everyone on the intermediates, you got the option of going to 0 stop or a 1 stop. Everyone's going to go for the 0 stop if they don't have to. But it is the wet. You never know what could happen. There could be a crash. There could be something. A safety car, a red flag. I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to get a red flag. But if we do, that'll be nice because I need a title. So who knows what could happen in the wet as we're rounding the final corner of the formation lap and getting ready to start on for the race here in Australia. It is 5 red lights. Away we go in Australia, a wet Australia. We get a decent start behind our teammate Jack Doohan. Sargent comes to cover us off, but we've got the inside line as we go for a move down the inside of our teammate. See you later, son. Down the inside of the AlphaTauri as well. Bit of contact as we go 3 wide into the first corner. Can we get the Alpine of Pierre Gasly as well? It's a great start up into P19 from P22, showing that starting from the back of the grid was probably a good choice. And taking all the new engine penalties as around the outside we go on the Alpine as well. We are making moves here in the wet. We're putting our nose in, and people are just getting out of the way as we go through. And Alex Albon as well. P17. We've got up 6 places after the first couple of corners, and we're absolutely flying here in Australia. So a fantastic start. And if we can keep this way, this movement up the grid, it would be a great start indeed. As I think Alex Albon had a bit of a moment. It looked like he almost spun out, but we've got Albon all over the back of us. Our straight line speed in the wet is not here. We've gone for corner speed, traction, everything that we need to get us through the corners quickly, but not the straight line speed, which is likely going to cost us at some point. As Albon has a big moment. I'd say he almost puts that in the wall. I mean, it looked like he was going for the move and then all of a sudden snapped back. So a bit of a moment for Alex Albon. But while we come back, we've got Danny inside of Magnussen. We are still making moves left, right and centre. It's not even the end of the first lap yet. And we're up into P16. Absolutely flying here in Australia. It's been a good start for Charles Leclerc, who leads the way with Verstappen in P2, Sainz in P3. And that Ferrari car actually looks pretty solid indeed. It looks like it's up there with the Red Bull. And then you got Mercedes and Aston Martin a little further behind. But Charles Leclerc, he could be in. He could be in for the championship if he keeps this up as he leads the Grand Prix. And we're concentrating on our race a little bit more. Down in P15, still putting the pressure on the cars in front. If we can find a way past some of these cars, that will certainly help in our bid to get points, because P15 points are definitely on at this point. As we have a bit of a moment. That's our first mistake. Luckily, that one doesn't end in anything bad. We don't get any damage or anything, but Verstappen has gone round. He's made a mistake. He made a mistake in Bahrain. He's made one here, and it's our first red flag of the series. It's a red flag in Australia, and the cars are all going to line back up on the starting grid. Let's see what Verstappen has done. He rounds the first corner, and yes, he just drops it. Hits on the throttle too much in the wet. You're going to go spinning round. Doesn't get any damage, so he's just sitting there waiting for cars to pass. But the FIA thinks that's enough for a red flag, especially in the wet conditions. I'm fine with it. That's the first red flag we have had in this series. It doesn't really change much, though, because, I mean, everybody's going to go back onto a new set of inters. If it was a dry race, yes, it could make it a little bit more spicy. But everybody's just going to go onto a new set of inters and take them to the end of the Grand Prix. Although, it does look like it could be drying up in the last couple laps, so we have to keep an eye on that. Maybe it could make it a little bit interesting. Maybe we've got a mixed weather race here instead, which could make it a little bit spicy. But we're ready to get back underway after the red flag. It's 5 red lights and we are underway, and it's a good start once again. But a safety car has been deployed within 2 seconds of the start, and Piastri's just gone zooming past us. That's our spot. How has Piastri taken that spot from us? We slowed down under the safety car. He did not. So Piastri... Oh, he's brake checked us as well. What is going on? What is going on here in Australia? The home favourite, the fan favourite here in Australia has first of all taken our position and then brake checks us. Let's have a look. He gets a decent start, similar to us. You can clearly see there's a safety car. I mean, the rain's in the way, but it clearly says safety car. He keeps going past, overtakes us. We try to overtake him back. No, you can't do that. It's Piastri's spot now. So we say, okay. As he comes into turn 1, it's like the safety car spooks him out, and he comes to a full stop. I mean, what is he doing? He has absolutely shafted us. We've broken our front wing. We're currently P16. We're going to have to pull into the pits and change our front wing. So we're going to go from, I guess, what was P15 all the way back to P22 now. So we're right at the back of the field. It was a great start as well. We were likely going to gain a couple places off that start for the red flag if a safety car didn't come out. There's so much to talk about what just happened. I don't understand. Too much has just happened, and
it looks like there's an issue with the front wing attachment. They'll be hugely disappointed.
Just to make matters worse, the pit stop didn't even run smoothly. So, but we've put on a new set of inters, but it's actually our old inters. So our used set of inters, which are about 8%, we've had to chuck back on the car. And at the end of the lap, we're just going to pit again because the safety car doesn't come in. So we're going to pit again onto the newish set of inters so that we can get the new set of inters on for when we do a safety car restart. But we've got to do all the hard work again, starting from P22, which is very, very frustrating. And as we come by the pits, we pass the pits. So they didn't even box. I wanted to box, but it didn't allow me to box. So we're on a used set of inters. At the back of the grid, we've been shafted by the safety car, which has come out 2 seconds after the red flag. There was no reason for it. I think it's just a glitch in the game. We should be up in P15 at least right now. It would have been higher without the safety car. So we have been shafted by the FIA, shafted by the game, and we're down in P22, and we have to try and find a way to move our way up the order. I don't know if there's any points on the cards today. I mean, with the safety car, it will probably go dry towards the end of the race. So if it does go dry, then maybe there's something in there for us. But if it doesn't, I think it's going to be very, very difficult starting right at the back on the restart. And we've only had 3 racing laps this whole Grand Prix. 3 racing laps. And we're on lap 9, about to be on lap 10. So we've done 9 laps, and only a third of them we've actually been racing. Think of that how you will, you know. So we really haven't done much racing in Australia. And the racing that we did, we overtook like 6 cars. So if we can do that in 3 laps, why can't we do it again and work our way back up the order? As Nick De Vries is out of the session, for some reason he's pulled over during the safety car, and that's had us drop real far behind. I don't know what's going on. This game is, or this race has been really glitchy. This is the first glitchy race we've had, but it is spicing it up, and it's making it for an interesting end to the race. I say end to the race, we're only halfway through as Leclerc leads the pace and gets us going in a minute here in Australia. We're right in the back, seeing if we can jump our teammate, jump Logan Sargent, who's in P18. You got Gazzy in P19. I don't know what he's doing all the way back here. But can we get a jump on our teammate as we're back underway here in Australia? And I'll tell you what, it's not a great start. But you can just see the straight line speed that we have in this car isn't here. It's a setup issue. You know, we went for a setup that lets us go through the corners nice and quick, allows us to be nice and nimble through the corners. And it's a track where you probably want straight line speed, especially after the changes they made to that long straight about halfway through the track. So losing a bit of time to our teammate up ahead, but we will have the pace to overtake, and we know we're fast in the wet. We know we can overtake cars. We've already done it multiple times. It's more about having the patience, but it's tough to have patience when you should be, 7-8 places further up on the grid. So it's very, very frustrating indeed, as that's a great turn 1 and 2 from us there, and that's going to give us a nice little run on our teammate. Can we get back past our teammate? We need to beat our teammate. We haven't beaten him yet this season in the race as we go deep, and we hit the back of Logan Sargent, and back to the back of the grid we go. And I am shocked we didn't get any wing damage on that. For a second I'm like, do I have wing damage on? But then I remember Oscar Piastri brake checking me, and I'm like, we definitely do. So we got damage from the Piastri incident, but not from that one. I don't know how, but I'm happy to move on with that, because it was a late lunge. We could have got the move done without slamming into the back of Sargent. And we're going to go for it again now on our teammate Jack Doohan as we go deep on the brakes. We go a little too deep, and Doohan goes for a switchback. Our teammate is showing us up here in Australia, making us look like a fool, as we're going to go late on the brakes once again. This is a third time. Is it third time lucky for us here in Australia? Yes, it is. Up to P20. I love it when both our cars are fighting for the back spot. You know, it's a little upsetting to see that both of us are P20 and P21, and P22 has DNF'd. So it's not ideal, but we're going to try and make our way up the field now as we're closing on the back of Logan Sargent. We've got to make the moves done. We're on lap 12 already. We're not making them up as quick as I thought we were going to, as we go for that late move on Logan Sargent up into P19. I feel confident in the wet. I do feel very confident. I think there's only been one or two times where I've almost lost it. Other than that, I've had great traction, great pace, and I've actually been faster than than the AI, I feel, at times. I mean, they've got the straight line speed, but through the corners, we are absolutely rapid. And I feel confident in this car. And when you feel confident in a car, you could go that much quicker, and you have much more confidence to absolutely send it on other cars and put yourself in places where it doesn't belong, as we're going to go for another move down the inside of Kevin Magnussen. There's another place up into P18, and we're behind our rival, our nemesis, the one that gave us wing damage by simply brake checking us. Didn't get a penalty or anything. Thankfully, we didn't get a penalty. I feel like on previous games, we would have. But yeah, no penalty for either of us. The FIA just saying, look, it's an incident because we screwed up by deploying a safety car 2 seconds after the restart. I have no idea what that was all about. But yeah, you're looking at Charles Leclerc. He was leading, or is leading, the Grand Prix comfortably. And Verstappen, the man who made that mistake, he's in P7 still. You know, he's chilling. Because the red flag came out when he was, I think, down in P9. And cars were still passing, but it came out midway through. So he got the benefit of the doubt, you know. He could have been right at the very back, but he got lucky that it decided to come out when he was still technically P9 because he was on the track, spun out. Or I don't even know if he was on the track, but he was sitting there, spun out, and so he stayed P7 or P9, which is a little bit annoying. We would have had him. I'd like to have him further down the grid. But now we're going up on the move on Piastri. Nothing's really happened too much, as we do get the move done on Piastri thanks to an Albon mistake. And P17, we just can't, or lap 17, P17, we just can't seem to get the moves done. It's very difficult when you don't have that straight line speed. You almost have to hope that you get a really, really good exit out of a corner and you can send it at the next corner. And that seems to be what's been happening. Either cars battling ahead, or I get a really good exit out of this turn 1, turn 2, and I can get close enough to send it. Like I am here on Albon. We're very, very close. We're going to be able to send this down the inside of Alex Albon. He tries to defend a little bit, but we brake just late enough. There's another move. P16. We're showing off the moves in the wet. And it's been a very good drive from us. We have been shafted, and it's been a very good drive regardless. So P16, I'm actually pretty happy with this. I think it showed that we have good pace in the car. It showed that in the wet, I'm not too bad as well. As finally DRS gets enabled in lap 19. It's too late now. It's not going to dry up in time. So any chance of a late drama for late pit stops in the dry have gone completely out the window. So nothing's going to go crazy at the end of this Grand Prix. But we do get to watch a battle for P2 as Perez is all over the back of Hamilton. Can Perez find a way past the 7-time world champion? That Red Bull is certainly a lot faster. Same with that Ferrari, as Sainz is in the background. As around the outside goes Perez with the help of DRS. Is he going to make it stick? Lewis Hamilton has a bit of a moment, and that allows Sergio Perez to sweep on through. He's up into P2. Hamilton still on the podium for now. But Perez making the moves, and he is the lead Red Bull driver as Verstappen is down in P5 after that moment. I'll tell you what, it's not bad for Verstappen to finish in P5 after spinning out on the track and causing a red flag. He's got a little bit lucky how he could come over in P5, but that's multiple mistakes he's made this season as this man, Charles Leclerc, takes the race win in Australia, and Perez will come home for P2, Sainz in P3. And here it is for us as well, rounding the last few corners. I think it's been a pretty decent day for us. Pace-wise that is. The race just hasn't gone for us, but I think we've done well we didn't make any mistakes. We made a bunch of overtakes, and we had a solid race. So overall, I'm happy with my performance. We will take a P16 for the Australian Grand Prix, and that is our best result of the season. As you see it, the two Ferraris on the podium. Carlos Sainz is in P2. What has happened there? Why is Carlos Sainz up on the podium with Charles Leclerc and Hamilton? That should be Perez, but Perez is down in P4. Verstappen down in P7. We're up in P15. The order's all messed up. That's not how it finished at all. I mean, we finished P16. I know that for sure. So I know that's not right. I know what the podium was. And I think it's a glitch on the game where if you have a red flag, the results of what happened before the red flag is what's going to be the final results. So that is a patch that EA and Cody's need to get onto very, very quickly, because that has skewed the whole results at the end. So I guess P15, it gives us one better, but yeah, the results aren't correct. But anyway, we'll take it. I mean, I guess we'll take an extra place. But P16 we're going to go with anyway. We got P16 in that Grand Prix. It was decent pace, and our car is moving up. Our car is upgrading, and potential for points are there. I reckon with the right race, the right strategy, and stuff going our way, it did not go our way at all today, but if stuff does go our way, we can get within an outside shot of the points. We might need a retirement up at the top, maybe 1 or 2 retirements, but we can certainly get there, and we can certainly challenge, I think, for P7, P8 in the constructors, maybe P9. But yeah, next time out we will be in Imola. If you are enjoying this series, make sure you go ahead, leave a like, and also subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.